Hello everyone. In this example, we're going to write a script that will search a directory and its subdirectories for specific file extensions. These file extensions will be provided by the user, separated by a comma by default, but in case he wrote a typo and he replaced the comma by something else, it can still deal with that. Alright, so let's at first start declaring the variables that we need. So search or search directory equal by default dot, which means the current directory, words, which will be the phrase of extensions provided by the user, is equal to empty string. We're going to declare an array that will save or that will hold the extensions that are provided by the user, such as txt, jpeg, mp3. So declare dash a, an empty array, extension array equal empty. Regular expression word equal empty string. We will see how we're going to use it. It will reformat the extensions in a way that the find command will look only for these extensions, and regex separator, which will separate these extensions by a pipeline in regular expression so that the find would only filter in these extensions. So at first, echo enter search directory, example home / read search directory, enter search patterns, example, these will be the extensions, for example txt, xml, jpeg, png, etc. Read words. Now, by default, the extensions would be separated by a comma, but we're going to work around this, that in case the user entered a typo, so instead of a comma, typed a pipeline, a hashtag, the software or the script will replace these characters by the comma. This is how we're going to replace whatever the user enters instead of the comma by the comma, okay? ext or extension is equal to extensions. This variable will hold all the extensions provided by the user, but it will replace any special character by a comma. So extension equal echo words delimited by double quotes redirected to a command called string editor. Inside the string editor, at first, this is the start of the string. You have 3 forward slashes and G at the end. Now, between the first 2 forward slashes would be the pattern or the string to be replaced, and between the second 2 would be the replacement. So here we're going to use a regular expression. Whatever is inside these 2 square brackets, whether it is a pipeline, plus sign, hashtag, tilde, or caret, it will be replaced by a comma. Then we're gonna redirect it again to another command, which is tr, to replace comma by another character, which would be a new line, because we're gonna convert this pattern to lines, meaning that each of the extensions would be on a separate line. Then we will save them into a file and we will read the lines from the file to fill them inside an array. So tr will replace the comma by a new line, and this is how we denote a new line. $, 2 single quotes, then \n, because \n or new line is a special character. To give you an example of how this works, so let's say a variable called var here equal this following string, so txt, pipe, png, hashtag, then jpeg, let's say, tilde, then mp3 and caret. If I type echo $var and redirect it to the string editor, so s, then pipeline plus hash, tilde, and caret, it will replace it by comma, then /g. And you see, all of these symbols or special characters have been replaced by a comma. And by the way, this should not be here, because the last one, you don't place for it a special character. You only place it between the extensions. So another thing, if I redirect it again to tr, then the tr would replace the comma by a \n, which is a new line. and you see we have each extension right now has been filled into a new line. So we're gonna echo this extension into a file so that we can read from the file, because from a variable we cannot read lines. It won't work out. Okay, I've tried it before. So echo, and we will redirect the extension variable here, its content, into a new file, which would be a temporary file. We will call it temporary extension file.txt. Afterwards, we need to change the mode of access for this temporary file for read, write, execute, so that we can access it easily. .txt. We will read this file line by line, and each line will be filled inside an array as an element. Of course, each line contains a specific extension. So while read-r line do done, and this while loop will be fed by the temporary extension file. It will be its feeder. Okay, it will read from it. Here, the extension array that we declared, it will be filled and appended with each line at each loop. Okay, so plus equal and dollar line. Get me the value of each line and fill it inside this array. Okay, each line by line. Now we're gonna format the regular expression. Okay, the regular expression would be used in order to search only for the extensions provided by the user. This is how it actually works. So let's say you have on the desktop different file types such as text, JPEG, and by the way, it will search in the directory and also the subdirectories looking for these extension files only that have been provided by the user. So if I type find, dot means look only inside the current directory, dash type F, okay, it will look for all the file types within this directory, which is desktop. If I need to filter the search out so that the script would only look for, let's say, JPEG and TXT, this is what I'm gonna do. Find dot dash type F, then I redirect it to a grep command. Then within the grep, I'm gonna look for TXT, and by the way, only what ends with TXT, meaning TXT files, then /pipe, and also JPEG $sign. This is how I can filter the search out. And you see, it only looked for TXT and JPEG. If you want to try it again, instead of JPEG, let's say MP4, to check if there are any videos on the desktop. So you see, you have only TXT and MP4, and the $sign means only the lines or the file path that end with TXT and MP4, which is the extension, by the way. This is what the script is doing. So in order to actually write this formatting, this is what I'm gonna do. I need to fill a regular expression based on a for loop that will check each extension within the array, then fill them with a $sign at the end, then after that a backslash and a pipe, except for the last element. So if the element is in the middle, I will add or append to the extension $sign, // and pipe. Otherwise, I would only append the $sign. Now, lest we forget, let's say the user did not enter a value for the directory and simply tapped enter. We need to have a default value, which would be the current directory. Okay, so if search directory is equal to empty string, then we need to fill search directory by the default value or dot, which denotes, by the way, the current directory. Okay. Another thing to pay attention to is removing these double quotes. Otherwise, it will append one string as one element within the array instead of appending the different lines or different extensions into different elements of the array. For I equals 0, I less than the size of the array, which is $, hashtag, extension array at I++, because we're incrementing, I++ because we are incrementing, do done. within the for loop, if the position of the index is not the one of the last element, then we will append $sign and backward slash, then pipe to the extension, okay, within the regular expression word or sentence. Otherwise, we will only append the $sign. That would be the last extension within the array, or the last extension within that regular word expression. If the position $I is less than, and here we're gonna evaluate the size of the array, extension array. This will give us the full size -1. So if the index is not the index of that last element within the array, then we're gonna append to the regular expression and to the extension itself $sign, backslash, and pipe. The regex separator would be $sign, backward slash, pipe. Otherwise, the regular expression separator would be equal to $. After that, at each iteration, the regular expression word would be appended to the extension itself, which is the element of the array at this index, and also the value of the separator, okay? Regex separator. All right, so just to test the result, if I type here echo regex block is equal to regex word, then the size of the array is equal to $sign hashtag extension array and @ symbol at the end. This will give us the size of the array. Finally, echo the entire array or the list of the elements or the extensions provided by the user. We output it using the same literal here. Instead, we don't list the hashtag $sign x array @. This will give us all the elements of the array. Finally, find search directory, because we're looking into its search directory provided by the user, and it's all subdirectories, by the way, for the extensions given by that user. Dash type F, because we're looking for files, then dash print 2, and what this does, then find search directory, because we're looking into a directory and subdirectories. Finally, find search directory, because we're looking for these extensions or these file types within a directory and its subdirectories. Dash type F, we're looking for file types. And also another thing, dash print to redirected to /dev/now. We write that so that anything which permission is denied to access will not be listed in the final result. Finally, grep and $regular expression word. Okay, at the end we remove the temporary extension file that we've created before, no longer needed. So fsearch.sh, okay, enter, because I will search only the default right now, the desktop. Okay, let's look for JPEG and MP4, and you see we have the result. 2 means 2 elements within the array. The array elements or extensions are JPEG and MP4. And you see we have all the files with their full path have been located inside Mediatek directory under desktop. So it will look for the directory and its subdirectories as well. And by the way, I have a directory which contains different file types, okay, whether JPEG, MP4, everything that you would need for this test. So I simply type find dot dash type F. If I stop, it will only look for all the files, okay, within the directory and the subdirectories without distinguishing the file types, okay. Now, if I need to filter, this is what I'm gonna do. Let's clear find dot dash type f, then I redirect to grep. I will only look for JPEG and MP4 files. And this is, by the way, a regular expression. JPEG ending with a dollar sign, meaning all the lines that end with JPEG. After that, backslash, pipe, and MP4 dollar sign. If I need also to look for another extension, I need to also add backslash pipe and the same thing. Let's say MP3 dollar sign. But for the last element, I no longer need to add another pipe. And you see, it looked for all these file extensions, JPEG, MP4. It did not find MP3. But as you notice, all of them ending with JPEG MP4 in case a file contains the word MP4 on the inside of the name. Okay, I'm looking rather for the file types, not the names of the files.